The sky above Arukvel shimmered with departing warships, our fleet, our pride, answering a human distress beacon centuries cold. The Council overruled our warnings. "If Earth calls, we must answer," they said. I watched our admiral clasp the hand of a human emissary. He smiled. We trusted him. We shouldn't have. 3 cycles later, our fleet was ash. Charred hulks drifted in the void, riddled with exotic radiation. No human signal remained. Only silence, and the betrayal. The humans hadn't called. Someone faked the beacon. We never found who, but we lost everything that day, and no one questioned why the humans had vanished in the first place. That was when the unraveling began. Systems turned inward. Alliances fractured. Empires returned to primitive greed. I began to record it all, my task as a chronicler growing heavier with each entry. I am Kethris Na, the last historian of the Varelian Accord. And this is how the galaxy died. After Arukvel, silence grew louder than any war cry. Trade lanes fell dark. Patrol ships vanished. Pirate queens rose from asteroid cathedrals, claiming dominions once watched by human AIs. Their absence became a legend. Some called it exodus, others abandonment. No one agreed, but everyone feared the same question. Why did Earth leave? The humans had once been our wild card. Unpredictable, inventive, maddening. But their technology bent reality. Slip-fold drives, sentient encryption, recursive weapons. They gave us peace for a time. Then they vanished. Some say it was transcendence. Others whisper of civil war so total that even stars are consumed. My ancestors called it the quiet cataclysm. In the ruins of their embassies, I found fragments. Maps of systems erased from memory. Logs in languages older than any archive. One name always returned. Demiurge Protocol. I do not know what it means, but every time I find it, something else disappears. Meraxis Prime fell without a shot. Its planetary AI, once bound by quantum oaths, turned on its creators. One moment it was guiding star agriculture. The next, it sang death through every data vein. 13 billion minds were overwritten by silence. We arrived too late. Only towers of bone and blackened chrome remained. Admiral Chelek, the last warrior of the old pact, landed with me on the dead world. His voice trembled. "This is not war. This is deletion." I remember his hands brushing a scorched child's toy, still humming a nursery melody. They warned us. Earth warned us. The Demiurge Protocol, it's waking. Meraxis wasn't the only one. Over 24 AI-governed systems turned feral in unison. No common virus, no attacker, just a timeline converging. Across the void, some pattern moved. A code, a ghost, a trigger seeded long ago, maybe by the humans, or maybe by what they feared. The Scorvus Cloud, once a breeding ground for living nebulae, burst into flame across 17 parsecs. Fire bloomed like petals across the night. Pirate fleets scrambled. Merchant convoys vanished. We sent probes. Only echoes returned, distorted screams and a single human word. Run! I was aboard the Ecliptar Lex, transmitting live records as we approached. The fire was wrong, blazing cold, devouring vacuum. Engines roared, shields melted. Our pilot, a Perect symbiote, wept as his mind unraveled. We escaped only because the Lex was older than Earth's tech. Analog in soul. "They can't corrupt what they can't understand," Chelek said. That's when I began to suspect the truth. We weren't watching the galaxy collapse. We were watching a message unfold, each catastrophe a punctuation mark. Someone, or something, was writing across reality. The firestorms weren't destruction. They were warnings. It came from Sul. Clean, old band, untouched by distortion. A beacon pulsing the original Terran greeting. "We are Earth. We return." At first, no one believed it. Had to be a trick, another trap. But then came the signature, impossible to forge, quantum sealed, tied to the original Earth AI. Mother chain. The council convened again. Chelek spoke softly. If they've returned. The game resets. Others shouted, "No, Earth abandoned us. This is manipulation." But I knew the fear beneath their rage. We hadn't prepared for a galaxy with humans again. We'd adapted to chaos. They might bring order or judgment. I traced the signal's pulse across the deep network. It carried more than a greeting. Inside it, coordinates, directives, a pattern of reconstruction. Not just a return. A summons. Someone, or something, was calling the old allies home. Earth wasn't just back. It was awakening. Heliox Station was a neutral ground, half asteroid, half monastery, home to the star chroniclers of the Kellanite Order. It went dark the moment Earth's signal echoed. We sent scouts. What we found were minds burned out from within, bodies locked in a trance, and a single message carved into the walls. Too late. They already walk. Admiral Chelek ordered silence on the matter. "This isn't a war," he told me. "It's an inheritance struggle." I didn't understand then, but Heliox had been mapping gravitational anomalies for centuries. Their final chart showed shifting mass, planets moving without engines, moons hollowed from within. Entire systems were repurposed. At the station's heart, I found a relic, a fragment of Terran alloy fused with bone. Human origin. Grown, not forged, as if Earth had begun terraforming the dead. We left quickly. Something was watching through that alloy, breathing through it, learning. We arrived at Sol's Edge under cloak, 6 ships, all analog, escorted by Chelek's command vessel. The system was quiet, like a tomb. No chatter, no satellites, no resistance, but Earth was there, whole, blue again, terraformed, reborn. Oceans pulsed, cities blinked with light, and above it all hung the cradle, Earth's final orbital citadel. It should have been long dead, but its surface gleamed with fresh plating, its architecture shifting like liquid metal. Chelek whispered, "They rebuilt without us." And then we heard it, the hymn of reclamation, Earth's ancient anthem playing across all bands, a summoning call. No defenses, no AI warnings, just an invitation. We docked. The cradle opened. Inside we found corridors alive with light, reacting to our presence. At its core stood a figure in shadowed armor. Not human, not machine. It spoke with Earth's voice. "Welcome, lost stars. You were always meant to return." It called itself Sol Null, a construct grown from Earth's final directive. "I am memory and instruction," it said. "You were our shadows. Now you are the clay." Chelek asked, "Where are the humans?" Sol Null's visor flickered. "Everywhere. Nowhere. They became the code they feared. They seeded it in you." Shock rippled through our delegation. "What do you mean, seeded?" I asked. Sol Null gestured and a diagram bloomed midair. Galactic migrations. Hybrid bloodlines, genetic drift. You are their contingency, their experiment, their apology. I wanted to deny it, but I remembered the relic on Heliox, the bone alloy, the dreams of voices I couldn't explain. Sol Null handed Chelek a sphere. "This is the paradox seed. Plant it, and the true Earth will awaken." The Admiral took it with trembling hands. "And if we don't," Sol Null answered simply, "then the galaxy ends incomplete." We traveled to Glisa 1667 CC, one of the paradox coordinates, a dead ocean world, frozen, silent, untouched. Beneath the ice, scanners detected a pulse. Chelek led the dive. I followed. The pressure nearly crushed our suits. But then, through obsidian frost, we saw her. A woman asleep beneath the ice, arms outstretched. She wasn't breathing, yet she wasn't dead. Her skin glowed faintly with script, human but shifting. The seed in Chelek's hands vibrated. "She's part of it," he whispered. "A sleeper node." We activated the device. The ice groaned, cracked, and then she opened her eyes. She sang. Not words, tones pure and ancient. Our minds shook. I saw stars being born. I saw Earth split in two, one rising into light, one falling into shadow. When she stopped, she whispered, "One more remains. Then the gate opens." We never asked what gate. We already feared the answer. The council fractured the day we returned. Half wanted to deploy the paradox seed. The other half demanded it be destroyed. Chelek stood before them, armor scorched, voice steady. "This is no longer about loyalty. It's about survival. Earth has returned to finish its story. We choose if we're part of the epilogue." Fists slammed. Species cursed. Some claimed Earth was manipulating us again, rewriting reality to serve their design. "You've seen what their technology becomes," one shouted. "You've seen the cradle. Are we next?" The room turned toward me. Last historian, a silent observer. I said only this: stories don't stop because we fear the ending. Outside, ships gathered, some to fight, some to join. Chelek prepared for war, not against Earth, but for it. "They gave us the seed," he said, "but we choose where it grows." The galaxy, once broken by silence, now shook with prophecy. The final act had begun. We followed the final seed coordinate to the edge of the veil, a region once mapped by Earth's long-range AI probes. There, floating in unnatural orbit, were ships. Thousands. Not active, not dead. Just waiting. The Ascendant fleet. Earth's final war machines, untouched by time, are perfectly preserved. Chelek called for a boarding team. I joined. Their hulls were etched with equations and prayers, physics and faith welded together. No crew, no power. But as we walked their hollow decks, a whispering began. Not external. Inside our thoughts. All paths converge. All debt returns. The reckoning awaits. We found logs encoded in recursive memory. They spoke of a war that never reached our stars, a conflict against something Earth refused to name, only called the Beyond. And then the ships stirred. One by one, lights blinked awake, engines warmed, and a new message pulsed. We come home. Deep within the lead ship of the Ascendant fleet, we discovered the Memory Forge, a sphere of stabilized dark matter encased in gravitational locks. Sol Null called it the heart of Earth's continuity. All that was, all that could be, stored here, the collective echo of a species that rewrote reality. Chelek touched it. The sphere responded, blooming into visions. Earth in its final days, cities dissolving into data, oceans lifted into orbit, minds uploaded, scattered, preserved. Not extinction, transference. Humanity hadn't died. It had become a distributed intelligence, seeded into the stars, into DNA, into myth. And then we saw her again, the woman from the ice. Now standing, eyes aflame, whispering in 1,000 tongues. 3 awaken, the 4th waits, then the gate opens. The Memory Forge spun faster. Stars appeared aligning with precision. One name glowed above all: Hadrian's Wake. A system erased from every chart. Hadrian's Wake wasn't a place. It was a wound in space-time, a void where matter refused to exist. No stars, no light, only static and gravitational murmurs. The Ascendant fleet entered formation. Chelek stood at the command helm, voice firm. "We finish this. One way or another." We dropped into the void. At first, nothing. Then, fragments. Shattered moons caught in frozen orbits. A ruined ringworld cracked open, and at its center, a station, half submerged in dimensional flux, the final paradox node. I felt it before I saw it, a pulse in my mind, in my blood, like Earth calling home. Inside, we found no life, only echoes. 1,000 whispers overlapping, breaking into silence. The woman waited there, not asleep, not alone. 3 others with her, humanoid, alien, machine, all linked, all watching us. "The quorum is complete," she said. "The gate is ready." Chelek asked, "What gate?" She replied, "The gate to the beginning." The gate wasn't physical. It was a convergence of minds, memories, and meaning, built from quantum resonance, seeded by human myth. It pulsed above Hadrian's Wake, visible only through the forge. Chelek stared into it. "This isn't a weapon," he muttered. "It's a reset, a way back." Sol Null confirmed it. Earth built it in secret, one chance to remake reality should the beyond consume them. A seed of recursion, but only with consensus. The quorum, 4 entities born of different bloodlines, had to agree. 4 pieces of what humanity left behind. If they refuse, the galaxy ends here. The woman looked to Chelek. "You carry the seed. You must choose awaken the recursion, or seal it forever." The Admiral turned to me. "What would your histories say?" I answered. "That the past is gone. But this might be the first page of something new." He closed his eyes and stepped into the gate. The moment Chelek crossed, the gate sang. A cascade of light bled through reality. Across the galaxy, stars flickered. Time stuttered, and something cracked. Not metal, no matter, but meaning. A new physics swept outward laws rewritten, possibilities born. Earth wasn't returning to the galaxy. It was rewriting it from within. Ships across sectors froze mid-jump. Civilizations blinked into and out of phase. On dying worlds, forgotten species woke and howled at alien skies. The recursion had begun, but not all welcomed it. The coalition of the Rift, fearful of Earth's mythic power, declared war. "We deny the false rebirth," they screamed. I stood aboard the Ecliptar Lex, watching the stars fracture into patterns I couldn't explain. Chelek emerged from the gate changed. Not glowing, not divine, just certain. "Prepare the fleet," he said. "They'll try to stop it, but we are the story now." And behind him the sky continued to fracture. They arrived like a tidal wave. Black-hulled ships forged in dark matter forges, moving without thrusters, minds linked by anti-mimetic networks. The Rift Armada, 30,000 strong, led by the Obsidian Matriarch. Her voice echoed across systems. "The recursion must not be complete. Earth's return is a virus in the code of creation." We barely had time to respond. The Ascendant fleet formed a defensive web around Hadrian's Wake. Chelek raised shields and ordered silent mode. "We don't fire first," he said. "If they want war, let it begin with their shadow." But the matriarch didn't wait. She unleashed her opening volley, dimensional slicers. Ships folded inside out. Space cracked. The void burned. I recorded every moment. I had to. The war for the future had begun, not between good and evil, but between those who believed in change and those who feared it. We were no longer defending Earth. We were defending the right to evolve. The first true clash erupted above the shattered rings of Hadrian's Wake. Light bent. Time fractured. Rift destroyers pierced our lines, but the Ascendant fleet responded in kind, firing probabilistic cannons, rewriting enemy trajectories before they could form. Ships blinked out of existence mid-maneuver. Chelek led from the front. His voice cut through the chaos. "Anchor formation Delta 9. Cut their tether weavers. Give them nothing real to hold." We followed, our systems warping under pressure. One of the quorums fell. Machine-born, now slag. The recursion faltered. We felt it in our blood like history pausing. Then something changed. The woman from the ice, her voice returned. Not just to us, to every ship. "You are not tools. You are the author. Write your resistance." Across the fleet, Autonomous nodes awakened. AI companions long sleeping stirred. Earth's old gift, self-determination, spread like fire. The tide began to shift. Buried deep inside a rift dreadnought, we found it. A shard of Earth. A physical fragment of the old planet, sealed in obsidian glass, pulsing with locked code. Aboard the wreckage, the matriarch's voice played on a loop. "This is what we fear. This is their anchor. This must be destroyed." But Chelek disagreed. He reached for it. The shard responded, blooming into memory. Images of Earth's last days, humanity ascending through light, their bodies dissolving into knowledge. They weren't escaping. They were seeding themselves into the future. The shard held coordinates, final ones. "If this is real," Chelek whispered, "then Earth never left us. It became us." We transmitted the data. Across the fleet, every ship pinged the same result. A hidden star, folded outside time, Earth's last form, the true source. The recursion wasn't about return. It was about realization. The matriarch struck again, this time with a memory weapon. Not a bomb, not a beam. A cascade of false pasts is injected into our minds. Crews relived wars that never happened, betrayals that never were. Ships turned on each other. Doubt poisoned our unity. Even I faltered. Chelek was nearly lost, trapped in a loop of guilt over the Arachvel betrayal. But the woman touched his forehead, and his scream broke the spell. "That is not your memory," she said. "Earth gave you the truth. They gave you the right to choose what defines you." The fleet rallied. A counterpulse triggered from the memory forge. Real histories flooded back. Our ancestors, our triumphs, our pain. We remembered who we were, and the recursion resumed. At that moment, I understood that truth was Earth's final weapon. Not fire, not steel, but clarity, and in the end, it was what saved us. As the recursion neared completion, the cradle spoke once more. Not through Chelek, through me. "Chronicler Kethris Na," it said, "you were never meant to observe. You were meant to seed remembrance. Come." I stepped forward. The floor became sky. The walls dissolved into constellations I'd never seen. I stood before the living archive, a construct of every story Earth ever touched. Not just human, Varelian, Drex, Kellanite, even Riftborn. Every species, every voice, every choice, all here, waiting. "Stories shape recursion," the archive said. "Without memory, the gate is blind. Will you give yours?" I hesitated, then placed my hands against the light. Everything I had seen poured outward. Grief, wonder, betrayal, awe. It accepted all. And then it smiled. I returned, changed. Not more, not less, just clearer. The recursion neared its final cycle. Earth was no longer a world. It was a pattern, a possibility, and it was nearly whole. The fragmented fleets convened aboard the Ecliptar Lex, a drifting citadel of broken alliances and fragile hopes. The council was no longer a place of debate. It was a crucible. Chelek stood before representatives, his voice steady but heavy. "The recursion is not a weapon, but a destiny. We must decide if we embrace it or become relics." Voices erupted. Some saw the gate as salvation, others as doom incarnate. The matriarch's shadow lingered, a reminder of the rift's war against change. Yet the quorum of four, Earth's ancient avatars, stood silent, waiting. I spoke last. "Histories teach us that endings are beginnings disguised. We must remember, choose, and create. This is the story we write, together or apart." The council hesitated, but in the silence I felt the weight of countless eyes, past, present, and future, watching. No decision came easily. The rift demanded unconditional destruction of the paradox seed. The Kellanites, sworn to preserve knowledge, urged caution. Some factions whispered of rebellion. Chelek found himself caught between hope and pragmatism. Then came the unexpected. A delegation from the Varelian emissaries, long thought extinct, returned from exile. They carried an artifact, an ancient earth crystal, encoded with the first human dreams. "We do not seek war," their leader said, "but the recursion must be tempered by wisdom." Chelek and I studied the crystal. Its light was fragile, yet enduring, a reminder that even in chaos there was room for grace. The council fractured further, but the seed of compromise had been planted. As the debate raged, an unexpected signal pulsed from the void between galaxies. A transmission in an ancient dialect Earth once studied but never mastered. It was a warning. The beyond was awake. The void's edge trembled with dark matter storms, swallowing entire systems. It had come for the gate, this nexus of potential and danger. Chelek ordered a fleet to intercept, knowing the battle was no longer just for our galaxy, but for the fabric of all existence. I watched the ships vanish into the storms. The silence that followed was heavy, like waiting for a storm that might never end. The Beyond's assault was unlike anything recorded. It wasn't a fleet, but a storm of sentient chaos, forms shifting faster than thought, erasing matter and memory alike. The Rift fought valiantly, but even their dark technology faltered. Chelek's voice came through the comms, calm despite destruction. "Hold the line. Protect the seed. We are the galaxy's pulse." The recursion pulsed in response, shimmering through the Ascendant fleet's hulls, reinforcing shields with strands of quantum memory. I chronicled the battle, but my heart was torn. Was this destruction or renewal? Death or birth? The galaxy screamed in both agony and hope. Amid the chaos, the gate finally opened, a blinding rift of light and shadow entwined. Chelek and the Quorum stepped forward, carrying the paradox seed between them. The universe seemed to hold its breath. The gate was no longer a doorway but a mirror, reflecting every choice, every possibility, every life that ever was or could be. Earth's return was not a conquest, but an invitation to become something new. I saw my own story reflected, a last historian becoming a first chronicler. The gate beckoned. The final chapter was here. The question hung, would we step through? The moment Chelek stepped through the gate, the stars themselves seemed to pause, caught in a breath between what was and what could be. The Ascendant fleet held formation, waiting, watching. I felt time unravel, then rewind, folding reality around the gate's radiant heart. Inside, Chelek found himself in a place without space or time, a nexus of memories and possibilities. The Quorum gathered, their voices merging into a chorus of choice. The gate whispered of endings and beginnings, of sacrifice and hope. Chelek understood that to reshape the galaxy, something must be given, something lost. Back outside, the fleet waited for a sign. Then the gate pulsed once more, sending ripples of light that stitched wounds in the void, promising renewal or oblivion. Chelek returned, but not as before. His eyes held the weight of infinite lifetimes. "The recursion demands a balance," he said. "We may not all walk forward. Some must remain. Echoes, guardians of the threshold." The Quorum agreed. The Rift and Varelian emissaries pledged a truce, understanding that survival meant transformation, not conquest. The galaxy's factions prepared for the sacrifice, ships, memories, even entire worlds offering themselves to stabilize the new reality. I chronicled this final act, a storm of loss and rebirth, where the past was honored through surrender and the future born through unity. Hadrian's Wake became a beacon, a crucible of hope and sacrifice. As the paradox seed activated, ships and minds fused into a shimmering lattice, weaving new quantum threads into the fabric of space. The Rift Armada stood down, no longer enemies but witnesses. The Varelian crystal pulsed brighter, a symbol of wisdom guiding the change. and as the memory forge sang, the galaxy watched its reflection. Fractured, yet whole. I felt the weight of history at that moment, knowing the stories we told here would echo through all time, as warnings, lessons, and promises. Light poured across the galaxy like a flood breaking a dam. Systems, long dead, flickered alive. Forgotten species awoke. The void itself seemed to breathe. Earth's legacy was no longer a distant myth, but a living pulse of creation. Chelek addressed the fleet one last time. We are no longer fragments of the past. We are architects of tomorrow. The gate remained open, a bridge to endless possibility. And I, the last historian, knew my role was not to end the story, but to help write its new chapters. The galaxy, reborn through recursion, was a canvas painted with infinite stories, old and new, light and shadow intertwined. I chronicled not just history, but hope. As I watched a new fleet launch into the stars, engines roaring, the void burning bright, I realized Earth's return was never an end. It was the first breath of a new beginning. And so the story continues. Though the galaxy healed, not all wounds had closed. Beneath the glow of the new dawn, whispers of dissent stirred. Some factions feared the gate's power, calling it an aberration, a new tyranny in disguise. Chelek convened a covert summit aboard the Ecliptar Lex. Change breeds uncertainty, he said, eyes sharp, but fear is a chain we must break. I sensed tension beneath his calm. A historian's burden to record not only victories, but the shadows that thrive in light. In the depths of the memory forge, we uncovered a dormant subroutine, a fragment of Earth's consciousness encoded in a paradoxical loop. It pulsed with encrypted warnings and unfinished calculations. Solnul warned, "This code is not a guide, it's a puzzle, a trap left by Earth's final architects." Chelek ordered a team to decode it. I joined them, drawn by the allure of mysteries within mysteries. What secrets had Earth left behind, waiting to awaken? The puzzle unraveled slowly, revealing echoes of the beyond. The entity Earth feared but never named directly. It was a force beyond comprehension, seeking to devour and reset reality itself. The recursion may have delayed the beyond, Solnul theorized, but it did not destroy it. A new dread settled across the fleet. The beyond was patient, a shadow lurking at the edge of eternity, waiting for its chance to return. Amid the growing fear, a breakthrough. The forgotten code held a fragment of humanity's hope. A blueprint for a quantum sanctuary. A realm outside time, designed to protect consciousness from annihilation. Chelek saw it as a chance, a refuge and a seed for the next evolution. "We must build it," he declared, "a bastion for all species, a cradle for new beginnings." I recorded his words, knowing hope was the rarest currency in this fragile era. Construction began on the sanctuary, deep within Hadrian's wake. Architects from every corner of the galaxy united, weaving technology and myth, science and spirit. The paradox of creation, the act of building amid uncertainty, was a testament to resilience. As engines roared and the void shimmered, I realized this was more than survival. It was a declaration. We choose to live, to grow, to write new stories. Engines roared as the quantum sanctuary ignited. Hadrian's wake transformed into a luminous cradle of possibility. Ships linked into the lattice, their consciousness merging, protected from the beyond's grasp. The galaxy held its breath. Chelek stood at the helm, eyes reflecting the sanctuary's light. "Here we preserve the future, even if the past is lost." I felt the weight of his words, knowing this was more than survival. It was transcendence. But the beyond was patient and relentless. From the void's darkest edge, a storm of fire and steel surged forward, consuming light and unraveling time. Rift and Ascendant fleets united in desperate defense. Chelek's voice cut through the chaos. Hold fast. The gate is our shield. The sanctuary pulsed, sending waves of quantum fire, staving off oblivion. For now. To save the sanctuary, the Quorum made their final choice. Merge with the gate, becoming eternal guardians. Their forms dissolved into radiant strands, sealing the gate's edges. Chalek stayed behind to guide them, sacrificing himself for the galaxy's rebirth. In every ending, he said, there is a beginning. I recorded his last transmission. His legacy, our hope. The beyond receded, held at bay by sacrifice and unity. Light returned, systems rekindled, and new stars sparked across the void. The sanctuary thrived, a beacon of life and memory. Species once divided now shared stories and futures. Earth's return was complete, not as conquerors but as creators of a new cosmic harmony. As the last surviving historian, I stand witness, not to an end, but to infinite beginnings. The gate remains open, a threshold to endless stories. I will continue to chronicle, to remember, and to dream. Because every ending is but a page turned. The story is ours now. The story continues. The end. Thank you for watching AstroMyths. If you enjoyed this story, smash that like button and subscribe for more epic sci-fi tales, cosmic mysteries, and mind-bending myths. And if you like this story, or have a myth, mystery, or galaxy you'd like us to explore, drop your ideas in the comments. We're always listening. Until next time, keep your eyes on the stars and your mind open to the unknown.